many people have asked you about heat pumps?
Not many.
Not many.
I turn them over to Beacon.
There you go. There you go. They'll like that. And people are, I mean, when people are looking for a house, there is some interest in energy. A lot of people look for greenhouses. Maybe just the specific heat pump isn't something that you see. But when you're working with buyers, I mean, what are some of the driving or the motivating factors for buyers right now? Because there's a lot of buyers and not a lot of houses.
Yeah, I know right now we're all experiencing such a hot market, which is great. We haven't seen that in a while. And personally, my buyers are experiencing a lot of competition, especially for houses in desirable locations. And, I'm seeing especially multiple offers in price ranging from $200,000 to $400,000 in pockets throughout the east side, as well as, Everett, Mukilteo area. Or all the way down south in Federal Way area.
You can buy a house for $200,000 on the east side. That's a pretty good deal.
Condos,
yeah. But that price point really is. I mean, I remember years ago that was what people said, that we had to get that price point back to support the move-up buyers.
Right.
And it sounds like people are coming back into that price point in just droves.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of not only first-time home buyers looking, but also baby boomers might be wanting to downsize. And properties within, like around 2,000 square foot, very popular.
Interesting. So when you know that you have first-time home buyers going after certain style houses, and you have moved down buyers or downsizing buyers, and you have people coming from all over the country who are a little bit sticker shock, that creates a huge demand for, I guess, that price range of property. How do you end up setting people's expectations differently than maybe you have in the past? Because it seems like people are pretty in tune with this now.
Yeah, I laid the groundwork at the get-go. When I meet buyers from the very beginning, I spend a lot of time and listening to their goals, what their budget is, and I educate them on the market. Especially if they're interested, for example, in Kirkland area or Bellevue or Mercer Island, those areas where traditionally it's always been very, very high. So just take a lot of time and educating them what type of pricing to expect in a slow market versus a hotter market.
And is this market hot? I mean, are we at piping hot at this point in time from a buyer's side?
You know what? It sure is. I'm looking at data from, now compared to almost back at the level of 2006, believe it or not. It's almost getting up there.
Back to price levels?
As far as competition, multiple offers, and people bidding, selling price versus the list price.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
So when you have all these people who are competing, what strategies, I'm going to ask you, peel back the curtains a little bit, but what strategies are you using to help buyers win?
Well, Ben, that probably is a show that probably take 2 or 3 hours because
Yeah,
I've learned a lot of strategies throughout my years in business.
Sure.
Again, going back to the groundwork that I've laid out for my clients and really understanding what their needs are, what their tolerant level is, what their price budget is, as well as knowing the property in that specific neighborhood that they're competing for, to properly structure the offer so that their bid is attractive, at the same time protects them in case something happens at the inspection or at the closing. Knock on wood, I've been doing this for many years. All of my multiple offer situations have been the winning bid.
Wow. That's pretty good. So when you talk about, you mentioned something that we haven't heard a lot about, but this tolerance level.
Yeah.
How do you gauge somebody's tolerance level going into, this market? And then how do you help people manage, I guess, tell me more about what you mean by tolerance level and how you help people manage it and what they can expect.
For example, if you have a first-time home buyer and they're perhaps they don't have a lot of cash for down payment, and they need to know beforehand, get pre-approval, which you understand that
Sure.
part of the business very well, to know exactly, how much more that price at that home, how much more they can bid, for example, in a multiple offer situation.
It's really a financial tolerance.
It is. Financial tolerance, and also understand, okay, after I do my valuation for that property, to know what that price should be for that area, whether they are willing to go higher When you buy a property in a good location, there's going to be eventually good resale value. So those conversations I have with them versus an investor where they're buying it to rent out perhaps, their goals and budget is very different. So it really depends on who I'm talking to.
Well, and I would imagine like a first-time home buyer has a different like emotional tolerance than an investor.
Yes,
So the ups and downs, I mean, the swings are just drastic.
For sure. And yes, there's a lot of more education consulting with a first-time home buyer, holding their hands all the way through. It's a very detail-oriented business from beginning to end. A lot of strategies involved, a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue between me and my clients.
Sure. You talked also about investors, and you talked about your clients a little bit. And you seem to you work with a pretty international clientele. When people and really that's another facet of people who are competing for a lot of the same houses. I mean, you not only have first-time home buyers and baby boomers who are maybe downsizing, and people who are moving to the area for jobs that Amazon and whatnot are providing, but now you also have international buyers that are also investors, all kind of competing for the same real estate.
That's right, and because the inventory is so low, it does create a lot of competition. And from my experience, fortunate for me, I'm bilingual. I'm actually was born in China, so I understand the culture and how things work. But buyers coming here, in my experience, the Chinese buyers specifically, they usually come with cash, and they're usually looking for properties $1 million plus. If they're buyers and not investors, they're buyers with intentions of having good schools. It's very important for them. They look for neighborhood with strong schools and close proximity to urban city, versus the investors that are looking for multifamily properties, etc. Very different requirements.
Sure. So are those the type of properties they're really gravitating towards? And it's a lot of the $1 million plus. I mean, it's not in that lower range. People are coming over with the big guns.
Yeah. In my experience, personal experience has been $1 million plus premier properties. They look for waterfront properties, those type of things. And then for the investors, they're looking for multifamilies with rental opportunities.
Sure. And so when you talk, and we do have to go to break in just a minute, but you talked about kind of the cultural difference. Tell me, what is the biggest difference in the transaction when you think about the Chinese culture and how they would buy property, and maybe what your standard American practice would be?
Well, I have to tell you, we have a very stringent way of practicing real estate here. There's a lot of guidelines. Everything has to rule-abiding. From my experience, some of the buyers that are coming in China, you literally do transactions. There isn't inspection contingencies. There isn't any of those groundwork for making an offer, and finishing the transaction. It's very different. So those are specific to how transactions are done. But in terms of cultural difference, they take a lot of time in really needing to understand where they need to be, and dialogue, trust. They need to build trust with you.
We see that kind of from the lending side. When people, whether they're from Chinese descent or they've lived here a few years, I think that trust issue really comes up because, of course, in the mortgage business, we have to ask for more paperwork than anybody should ever need to provide, but just as the way it is. And there's oftentimes more pushback, I think, from Chinese buyers who really tend to, oftentimes they're like, well, I've given you enough. And sometimes there's that cultural maybe difference in what needs to be done in order to, I guess, complete a transaction.
That's right.
Same thing you see on the real estate side?
Yes. Building a trust with them is key from the very beginning. A lot of things are based on gut feeling, and if they know what you're doing, they want the best value.
Sure.
Yeah, and they're tough negotiators.
Sure. Yeah.
So they want someone strong to negotiate for them.
Right. And so that trust thing, it seems, I don't think there's a lack of people I don't think there's a lack of trust that is needed from Americans. I don't know why it seems like maybe we're more our culture here is different.
It's different
when it comes to trust.
It's different in how you talk, and it's just doing business with a different culture.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be sensitive, how to ask a question, how they respond. If they don't,
the handshakes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything. There's an amazing amount of cultural differences. I remember even in like elementary school, and you'll learn all the different cultures. And I always remember, the two-handed business card with I believe in Japan, and all these different ways that people communicate. And it's really interesting when we get into the cultural differences.
That's right. And also doing business, for example, with international buyers who do not live here, and they live 15-hour time zone away. And as a real estate agent who's helping them, you have to be able to accommodate them, their schedule. That even if that means staying up till 1, 2 in the morning to have a conversation with them, and have systems in place that have efficient communication through email, or if there's contract needs to be signed, to do electronic signing and all those things, and understanding how to wiring money works.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.